Hey guys, what's going on? Dr. Frank here, founder of Addiction Mindset Recovery Coaching, where we help people quit nicotine, THC, energy drinks, pornography, and a whole host of other addictions. So be sure to subscribe below if you find this content valuable. In today's brief video, I want to take a moment and I want to celebrate the New York State legalization of recreational cannabis. So if you would, please just take a round of applause with me on this one. And as we know, medically, they already legalized it a while back, I think in 2014. Now, I mean that sincerely. I am happy that they have legalized recreational cannabis use. I think this is long overdue, and I think it's something that should also be done on a federal level. Now, I want to take some time though and talk about what does that mean for someone like me who was once addicted to cannabis, and the short answer is honestly nothing. And two, what are some of my opinions on this and some barriers that we may face? Well, before we jump into it, let's talk about some of the details of New York State and their legalization of cannabis. So detail number one, which I think is pretty exciting, they're saying that 40% of the revenue drawn from cannabis taxes of recreational cannabis is going to be pumped back into minority communities that have been negatively impacted by the war on drugs. Now, that's super exciting. I think that's great. I think any community that's been wrongfully done by the war on drugs, which was totally ineffective, should be, compensated for that appropriately. Now, I do have two concerns about this, though. Concern number one is, okay, 40% of those taxes are going to go back into those communities. One, how is that money specifically going to be used in those communities? And two, how much are you going to be charging in taxes for legal cannabis? If you look at the literature out there that currently exists in places like Colorado and California, let's take California for example, they are taxing the heck out of legal cannabis. And in 2019, if we look at the data, this statistic is insane. Illicit marijuana sales in 2019 are projected to outpace legal pot sales by a significant margin, $8.7 billion to $3.1 billion. So in California, $8.7 billion is illicit. $3.1 billion is going to be legal. Why is that? Well, one of the major factors is because of the high taxes. So my concern becomes, are the people in these communities that are now hopefully going to have access to legal, tested, quality products, are they going to be able to afford them, or are the taxes going to be so high that these individuals are going to be forced to continue to use illicit black market products, which is a terrible thing. My second thing is going to be yes, I think it's a great thing that we're going to have legal cannabis, but I am concerned that much like liquor stores take over and infiltrate a lot of these minority communities, are we going to see the same thing with cannabis dispensaries? Now, again, not saying that's a bad thing. I want people to have access to cannabis who want it legally. I think that's a beautiful thing. But are we going to see people who, one, aren't from these communities coming into these communities, taking advantage of these individuals in the same way that we see liquor stores do this in these communities? Now, problem number three that I have with this, and this is probably my biggest concern, what are we going to do to help the people in these groups who are addicted to cannabis, who are addicted to substance use disorders, who have already been put through the mill with drugs and dealers and things like that? How are we going to help these people quit? What programs are we going to put in for individuals from these communities that they're talking about in New York State? What programs are going to be put in place to help them thrive, to help them quit, to help them get sober? Because remember, just because cannabis is being legalized doesn't mean that everyone wants to smoke. And that certainly doesn't mean that there's not a group of individuals like myself who had a major problem with cannabis addiction. What percentage of that money is going to go to research? What percentage of that money is going to go to helping people get sober? I don't know. Those are just some of my first points on that topic. But again, just some general concerns too. This is great. I think this is awesome. No sticking points here. People with THC-related offenses that were criminalized for it, those criminal records are going to be expunged like they didn't exist. So I think that's awesome. They're saying now, like as of right now, you can now legally own up to 3 ounces of dry herb or, 24 grams of concentrated oils, which is like a lot of grams of concentrated oils, especially considering that a lot of these oils are black market products. One of my major concerns about this is, where is the delineation between quality concentrated oils and black market oils? A dealer, a plug, can do a lot with 24 grams. You can make 24 grams go a really, really long way in a high school or in a grade school, especially if we're packaging them in half-gram carts. So I don't really understand that one. I especially with the crazy influx of black market cartridges that we're seeing, which by the way are laced with all sorts of other substances, opioids, fentanyl. They had the vitamin E acetate. I think they use like laundry detergent in some of these things as flavorings. Don't quote me on that, but there's some weird stuff in black market carts. So how are you regulating that? And two, this is another sticking point. When are we going to educate people on what qualifies as a valid marijuana cartridge product versus a product from your plug? And when are we going to actually take time and educate people on the dangers of the black market products? I know the dangers of them. I was addicted to them. If you're watching this, you might be in that situation too. You know how these things can mess your life up. When are we going to take the time to talk about that? And I don't know. So I don't know. Guys, one thing with this, you can't smoke in parks, at park benches, boardwalks, pedestrian areas, schools. So for you, those of you guys ripping your disposable pens in the bathrooms, you can't do that anymore, okay? It's become illegal, so don't do that anymore. And, they're expecting this to generate a bunch of tax revenue, $350 million. That's great because we know New York State needs the money. That's awesome. And of course, there's some growing concerns that we're getting from parent-teacher associations and law enforcement. Well, I think we have to look at the reality of what legalization means, and I hope to God New York State does this differently than other states, but I don't think they're going to, because they've already clarified that this is going to be an extremely regulated process, and that probably means this process is going to be extremely hard to navigate for people applying for recreational licenses. And if we look at the literature on that from other states like California and other places, we will learn that the more regulation that's put in place, the more taxation that's put in place, the harder we make it for shop owners and growers to get the licensing, the more we're going to drive up the black market. And the black market here in New York State is already rampant. Why we're not talking about that, I have no idea. That should be being shouted from the roof. I could open up my window right now and yell, hey, someone get me a dank cart, someone get me a TKO cart, and I bet some guy would wander over off the bike path and just drop it off to me. I could probably just shout it out my window. So why aren't we talking about that? And why are we already using language and rhetoric about excessive regulation when we know that that's not working? Not only is that not working, but it's harming the people who are trying to do it correctly. You have licensed dispensaries in California coming out and saying, can you please do something in Los Angeles about these unlicensed dispensaries? We can't compete with their low cost. We can't compete with them, and it's putting us out of business. On top of us having to pay all these state things, we're going out of business because we can't compete. I don't know the number, but if you go on Weed Maps, I think it said there was something like 2,000 unlicensed dispensaries up and operating out of the Los Angeles area. I'm going to try and find the number for you guys. Yeah. 2,000 something, I can't find it. 2,000 something dispensaries up and operating on Weed Maps that aren't licensed legal dispensaries, therefore they're black market. Now, whether they're doing a legitimate job and actually doing the testing and paying their taxes, they might just be called black market now because they're not going through the state regulations. It's a big mess, is my point, and I'm hoping that New York State takes this video into consideration or consults with someone like myself, an addiction recovery coach, and actually considers how to roll this out over the course of the next year, because this is going to take about a year to roll out according to what they're saying before you can walk into a dispensary. And two, my concern isn't necessarily with adults. It's much more the age range of teenagers to young adults, I guess people in their 30s. Like, how are we going to educate them on what a real product is and what a real product isn't? We're going to be busy spending time telling them it ruins their motivation, it ruins their brain, it ruins their health, when their parents are at home smoking and their parents are perfectly fine and successful. When they're able to go on their phone and see lots of successful people who use cannabis appropriately and have done well in their lives. So where is the money that's going to go into to the schools and educating younger people in which totally needs to be redone, because the message right now is no good that we're doing in schools, in my professional opinion, and I can back that with data and statistics that it's not working. Where's that money? Where's that money going to go to? Where's the money for things like that? Because that is how you drive out the black market. That is how you have appropriate recreational cannabis use. Helping people who are suffering from addictions to cannabis, talking about it, that's how you do this appropriately. Telling everyone this is just going to be a smooth process and an amazing thing, and we're going to make sure it's heavily regulated by the state and the government, is honestly the opposite of what you want to do. And I think Oregon has done an unbelievable job in proving that point. They've done an unbelievable job when it comes to black market cannabis use and illegal cannabis use. So maybe we should look to them. What does Oregon do? They're not killing people on taxes. They're making it very easy for legal licensed dispensaries to open up. And they're making sure the people who need access to these places have access to these things. Now, I'm going to make another video about things, but guys, at the end of the day, follow the money, okay? For anyone saying legalization is going to crush the black market, probably not, because until there's a federal legalization, the black market will always have another state to thrive in, and that's one thing too. You know, look at companies like MedMen and places like that where they're not doing fantastic in the stocks. Why didn't these weed stocks explode? Because the black market's exploding. That's why. So I would hope going forward we're going to look at this. As I said, I wanted to also talk a little bit about what this means for me, and I'm going to make a more detailed video on that. It doesn't mean a lot. Just because cannabis can now be found in a dispensary means nothing. I wasn't buying cannabis from a dispensary before, and I'm not going to be tempted to go buy it there now. I quit for a reason. Something that was once good for me, something that was once a benefit to me, became a major negative in my life, and that's why I quit. Just because I can go buy it in a store now doesn't mean anything to me. Right? I could get cannabis if I wanted to get cannabis. Now, how I quit, how I got to this mindset, I'll make another video in more detail about that. But in short, it means nothing. I don't think it really changes anything. I do think, though, we need to start to focus on how are we going to attack this with the schools? How are we going to have a real honest conversation with people about substances and marijuana, not the BS conversation that we've been having now? And three, when are we going to start to talk about the fact that people do have problems with cannabis and what resources are going to be out there for those people who are concerned, just like we have resources for people who are suffering from alcoholism. You know, you can still sell alcohol in stores because some people can enjoy it responsibly, but we also have a lot of programs out there to help those who can't. When are we going to do the same stuff with cannabis? I hope that made sense. That was an insane rant. I'm sorry for doing such a rant video. Follow me into the next video where I talk about a withdrawal timeline for THC. I'll see you guys there.